I'm supposed to ask you like your goals, right? Or are you doing that? What are your goals for this coaching session?
I think goals, I just want to like work on like to make sure like it seems coherent, because like this is an 8-minute speech and that's a lot of time to like fill. Yeah. So making sure like it makes sense, like it flows nicely, and then I have a paragraph at the end that's just like really rough, so you can like help me. Yeah. Kind of make sure it's not repetitive. I'm just worried it's repetitive. It's not rough. I'm just worried it's repetitive.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Good deal.
We'll get that
Good
taken.
deal. I'm so pumped. All right. Also, the PowerPoint is a little rough, so if you want to help me with that. All right. Fear. Everyone has it. Small fears, large fears, irrational fears. I cannot do this in my glasses. They exist inside all of us. It's a completely natural part of life. Whether you're scared of something common, like mascots or clowns, or something really vague, like the fear of deep water. Everyone has something that they're, for lack of a better word, scared the shitless of. It's inevitable. It's an inevitable part of life. But I want you right now to take a moment and think about your like most irrational fear. Something that never, ever is probably ever going to affect you in your life, but you still sit around and you're like, this is going to happen to me. I just know, like one day. So really, for me, that fear is serial killers. I am so convinced that I'm going to be taken by a serial killer. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I joke about it, but no, like, I really am so sure that I'm going to be taken by a serial killer. And this fear started really young, and I'm talking like 6 or 7, before anyone should ever be introduced to the term serial killer or murder, or like know the gruesomeness of killing. And I very vividly remember being really young and sitting on our back porch, and we had a bunch of family friends over, and they were all exchanging their Jeffrey Dahmer stories. For those of you who are not from Milwaukee, who are obsessed with serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer in the 80s in Milwaukee, and in 13 years he killed about 17 people and was most well known for eating them. So that was really fun to be exposed to at age 7. But he was really, really infamous in Milwaukee because everyone and their mother had this weird connection that everyone would tell you a story about that. Like my mom and dad, when they moved to Milwaukee, lived a block away from like where his apartment was, and then was like 2 blocks away from where he killed all these people. My best friend's like growing up, her neighbor was the arresting officer of Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, I, in 5th grade, had a questionable field trip to the the county jail where we saw his cell, and they were like, he got murdered here in jail, and we were like, we're in 5th grade. I question that field trip to this day. However, the point is that like everyone has a story about him, so I was just very exposed to it at a young age. And then my dad, in true dad form, told me that if I misbehaved, Jeffrey Dahmer was gonna like come for me in the night. So as I got a little older, I was like, okay, I need to start researching this because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be murdered, right? Found out, first of all, Jeffrey Dahmer died 3 years before I was born. So the fact that he was not obviously gonna come kill me was like relevant. Yeah. But somewhere along the way, I became completely convinced that like I'm going to be taken by a serial killer. So like my initial reaction was like, I need to learn how to survive, I need to learn what I'm doing. So today I'm listening to a podcast about murder, as one does. And it's a comedy podcast called My Favorite Murder by hosts Karen Kilgraf and Georgia Hardstark. And they're talking about like where their fascination started, and it just kind of like really resonated with me and made me think about like the root of fear in general. Karen remarks that it's because every murder story that you read and all the information you gather informs you so that next time you'll be a little bit more prepared. And Georgia responded with, and if something does happen, you at least tried or had some control over it somehow. And that last part, tried or had some control over it somehow, really got me thinking about the root of fear. So I did some research, and I came across an article by H.P. Lovecraft, who's an American horror fiction writer, and it's entitled Supernatural Horror in Literature. In it, he asserts, I forgot about my PowerPoint, in it he asserts that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. This fear that lives in all of us is something that like, we don't understand and we can't control, and that's why we're so scared of it. And I think as college students, that's more true than ever. We're in this like really weird time where like we need to start thinking about internships and jobs and like even finals. Like I have so many finals and I'm probably gonna fail them all just because I'm so stressed out about them. But it's just because I don't know. I probably won't. But that sense of not knowing or not knowing what's going to be on exam is really, really stressful for a lot of people. And so I'm here today because I really think that so many times we view fear only in a negative light, and I think that there's so many times that we can use fear as motivation and can help us like achieve our goals and what we want to do in our lives. Tony Robbins is an award-winning author, entrepreneur, and life coach, and he's outlined 5 steps to channeling your fear, and as he terms it, using your fear before it uses you. So his first step is to determine whether your goal is a must. What he means is that like, if you were thinking about it and you put yourself in your shoes 50 years from now, are you going to look back and be like, wow, I really regret not doing that. I regret not taking that job. I regret not going to this or doing that because I was scared to do something. And that may seem trivial, but like if you put it into a hypothetical scenario that the majority of us are going to be facing in the next couple of years, it really makes a lot of sense and starts to resonate with you. So let's say that you have just received a job offer for a new job in Portland, Oregon. The job pays marginally better than your current position, but it would require you to leave your friends and family and to move across the country, to step outside of your comfort zone. You're intrigued by the offer, but the prospect of change is daunting and the fear of the unknown is very unsettling. So looking at Robin's first step is determining if your goal is a must. You need to weigh the benefits of your current job versus the benefits of the new job. In other words, the job is your goal, and you need to determine if this job is going to make you happy, if it's going to advance your career, or if it's better going to serve your needs. This scenario then leads into Robin's second point, which is to recognize the excuses. Every potential new adventure comes with opportunity costs. People are always looking for an excuse to stay in their status quo because they're scared of the unknown. Robin suggests training yourself to hear the excuses within, and by doing that and becoming more cognizant, you're going to be better able to get rid of the excuses and start thinking beyond them. Looking at our hypothetical again, the excuses may be that you don't know anyone there, that you don't like the weather, or that you don't know the city or your surroundings. These thoughts are all easily remedied and have really no actual bearing on whether or not you should or are going to take this job. However, they are things that could hold you back if you just let fear control your life. The third step then is to adopt a growth mindset. Don't get stuck in your head about where you're at. So often we're all guilty of thinking, well, I can't even do that, so I'm just going to give up before I even try, because that fear is what controls us. So by adjusting our mindset to allow for growth, it's going to push us to reach our goals. So instead of thinking that you don't know anyone, a growth mindset would be to be like, wow, I'm going to meet so many more amazing people. Or instead of thinking that, wow, I don't know the city, I don't know where I am, start thinking, I'm so excited to get to explore a new part of the country. By adopting this growth mindset, you're going to be able to get rid of the excuses that are holding you back and go into every situation with more positivity. This kind of leads into Robin's fourth point, which is that pain brings valuable insight. Fast forwarding a hypothetical, let's say you've accepted the job, you've moved out to Portland, and you absolutely hate it. You hate every single second of it. The city's too big, you don't like the path your career is on, and you still hate the weather. Nothing is good about it, and you want to quit, and you want to cry, and everything is terrible. But this pain, you need to remember that it can help you refine what you want out of life. It can force you to reflect on your goal and can make sure that it's still what you want. Because of the pain of the last several months living in this hypothetical situation, you can now start looking for jobs in smaller cities, doing more of what you want. And you know now more about yourself because you've gained this valuable insight that fear has pushed you to do. So in this hypothetical, or in life, you may feel like a failure. But remember, everyone fails at something in their life. Which is Robin's last step, is to know that failure is inevitable. It's okay to feel down about yourself. You tried something and it didn't work out, and that's a bummer. But you need to remember that at the end of the day, you need to stand back up, brush yourself off, and reevaluate your life. Use these experiences and adjust your strategy and approach the next time. It's at this point that once again you'll go back to step one. You'll figure out what your new goal is. You're going to figure out if that's a must, and then you're going to use that new fear and this new fear you've also gained to push past what you're thinking. That's weird, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, we do learn best from our failures. So going back to H.P. Lovecraft's assertion that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown, we come back to the point that we fear what we do not understand. Tony Robbins' 5 steps to harnessing fear allows us to better understand and prepare for the unknown, at least to the extent that one can. Yes, in the end, your fears may have gotten the better of you, but that's okay. You still gave into your fears and let them come through you so that you were able to move on with your life. Turning fear into a positive allows us to not get stuck in our ways, and it will allow you to not look back with regrets on your life. What it comes down to is that just because something is scary doesn't necessarily make it bad. Everyone should be using their fears to motivate themselves and push them further. And I'm not saying you should just ignore all fear. Fear is a very innate part of human nature. It's there to remind us to think twice before just, jumping into every new job career, or before, putting ourselves in a dangerous situation. And, just because I know more than the average bear about serial killers does not mean I'm going to go to a sketchy part of town at 2 a.m. by myself and get into a stranger's van. But it does mean that if I ever am taken by a serial killer, I can defend myself because I've prepared for what I fear, if that makes sense. I'd like to leave you with this final thought by the American science fiction writer Frank Herbert. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing, and only I will remain. From here on out, try your best not to let fear control you. Take these 5 steps addressed to you today and live your best life, your best well-informed life, and live with no regrets by not missing out on opportunities just because you were too scared to take them.
I'm gonna pull up the thing. rubric. But overall, I think that was really good. Oh. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I thought I brought a copy, but I didn't.
That's me all the time. I'm just unprepared for life.
Oh my gosh. So sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, it's the coaching assignment.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I think that for a general feedback, it is a really good speech, and you really, you are loud and you're clear, but the only thing that, and you were really funny, like I liked the beginning a lot, like I was super into it. Yeah.
I love serial killers.
I was into it, and you had a lot of good quotes in there that I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. A lot of comments in there that I'll look more into in a second. But yeah, a lot of quotes that I liked. And I think that if you focused more, there are some areas that if you focus more on trying to be that like enthusiastic, funny, it'll be throughout. Like in the middle, I kind of got lost.
So
there.
just kind of pull it back into the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like more specifically, when we transitioned from your fear of serial killers, I kind of got lost into what we were talking about of fear in general. So, like after you talked about your fear of serial killers, where did we transition into the fear talk? Like, do you remember?
Yeah. I don't really know that I have like a. I can like work on getting a better transition there because I also think it was kind of weird. Basically, it was going from the idea that like where the roots of fear come from, and then the idea that like fear is the fear of the unknown, which is what I was getting at. And then I went from that into like the college students, how like we're so scared of the unknown because like our entire life is unknown at this point. But I can like make that a little bit more clear and like a little bit more concise.
Yeah.
I think would be good.
Yeah, well, why don't we try that, for this line by line part? We can try and come up with some type of transition, even from the, like, talking about your field trip. Like, I feel like that's kind of where you dropped me.
Yeah, okay. I got you. Let's see. I still question the field trip to this day. I told my mom, I was like, why did we do that? So I have, like, the field trip, so, I went to the Milwaukee jail having the tale recounted to us. And then from a young age, I was very exposed to it. And then I kind of go into a little bit on my dad, which I guess, I think that's where I think it gets a little lost for sure. So I think if I just went from, I went on this field trip to the Milwaukee County Jail, saw where he died because they thought that was a good idea. And then I went into the idea that, like, that kind of sparked my, like, interest, so I started doing more research about it and getting really interested. Would that be a better transition?
Yeah, and that's, now that I'm remembering, I didn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
So I was like, I missed that, what it was.
Yeah, I can go to it here, because these are really crappy anyways. So, this sparked interest. And then research to understand my fears, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
And then I think we should try and rehearse from where you start telling the field trip.
Okay, cool.
Actually, why don't you just start it?
That.
Oh, well, it was from Jeffrey.
That paragraph, yeah.
Yeah.
I can just start there.
And then, like, also just, like, try slowing down. I mean, I know you know.
I talk so fast in my everyday life.
Yeah.
And I have a sinus infection and I'm just dying.
Yeah.
But, slowing down is always key.
Yeah. Because, like, I think, like, a lot of that
a lot of it got lost, too.
Yeah, because I just didn't understand what you said.
Yeah. All right. So.
Some parts.
I know, I feel you. So my biggest irrational fear is serial killers. I don't know why, but I'm about 90% sure that, like, I'm going to be taken by a serial killer at some point in my life. What really got me, like, onto this fear and interested in this was that when I was younger and, like, 6 or 7, like, very young, like, shouldn't know what murder is, shouldn't know what a serial killer is, should be thinking about, like, happy thoughts, you know? I remember vividly sitting on the back porch and having all of our family friends talking about their Jeffrey Dahmer stories. And for those of you who are not from Milwaukee and not obsessed with serial killers, as the majority of you are not, Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer in the 80s, and in 13 years he killed 17 victims, and was most well known for eating them. So you can imagine, as a child, that was very traumatizing to me, and that, like, would it make sense to go into, like, would that, like, could I talk about, like, my fear, like, what about, like, my dad's part there, because, like, he did used to tell me that, like, Jeffrey Dahmer was gonna come kill me in the middle of the night if I was bad.
So it doesn't seem like he's just thrown in there.
So, yeah, so I think it would make more sense, like, right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start from, but not the beginning.
Okay, not the
again.
beginning. But so, what did I start with? When I was 6 or 7, I vividly remember sitting on the porch with our family friends, and they were all exchanging their murder stories about Jeffrey Dahmer. And for those of you who aren't from Milwaukee or obsessed with serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer in the 80s who killed 17 people in 13 years. Was most well known for eating them. And so, as a 6 or 7-year-old kid, I was like, Dad, tell me about Jeffrey Dahmer. And he was like, oh, you know, if you misbehave, Jeffrey Dahmer, the cannibalistic serial killer, is going to come into your room and eat you at night. And that scared the shit out of me. So as I started getting a little bit older, I started doing research into it. First and foremost, found out that my dad is full of crap and that Jeffrey Dahmer died 3 years before I was born.
That's way better.
That was way better. I think it was too. I think that was like, because that really got, like, where the fear came from, I think.
Yeah. And then you had that funniness that you had at the beginning.
Yeah, and kind of brought that back around. Okay, that's good.
Do you want to write that down?
Yeah, I do, because I will forget.
Yeah, so that was way better.
Dad story. Yeah, my mom just found out that. She goes, he did not tell you that. I was like, yeah, I did. She's the worst. So then...
He's the worst.
So I really started doing some research into it, and I found out that I was just so intrigued by serial killers, and what does that go into? So then I can do, I started doing research on my own and became fascinated with the minds of serial killers. They fascinate me because I know no matter how hard I try, I'd never be able to understand them. Somewhere along the way, I've just become convinced that they're going to kill me, so I need to prepare, like, in all situations. And then I can go into the next point.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's a better transition.
Yeah. And then what's the next point again?
Then I go into my murder podcast with the idea that if something does happen, at least you tried or had some control over it somehow.
Okay. I think we should move on to another one, but
yeah.
Throughout the speech when you were rehearsing it, and I know I had, like, a script too when I was doing it with Jeremiah, but just important to remember, like, the transitions and doing it kind of like what we just did, because that helped.
Yeah, for sure. I just needed to, like, see something written out so I didn't go crazy.
Yeah, no, but I think that'll be helpful. And then, what else was I going to say? For the fear, when we start talking about the scenario of being in Oregon, why don't you use a real life scenario? Because I kind of was like, this isn't even...
So should I, like a life example of, like, my life?
Yeah, like something that you experienced and had to go through those step by step, because I'm sure you have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Milwaukee. Like, I can talk about moving here, like, for Ball State.
Yeah.
Should I do that? Okay, I can change that. So...
You can sit down and change it right now. Like,
yeah.
I totally...
So let's do...
But I think, like, it'll be more genuine, and then that was a
like,
big
more
part that I was, like,
Yeah.
lost in, because I was like, wait, what are we talking about now?
That's a good point. I like that. We're currently here before it uses you. So let's put this into perspective.
Oh man, that's good.
So then I would just, let's put this into perspective. So I'm from Milwaukee, and I really wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I really wanted to go away to school. My parents were really pushing me. I thought it'd be a really good idea. But I was so nervous because moving from, Wisconsin to Indiana, 5.5 hours away, didn't know anyone here, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I was just, like, taking a blind step into it. But I determined that, like, using this first step, determining if your goal is a must, I decided that I really, really wanted to push myself further. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. Yeah?
Yeah, and take that fear.
Take that fear. Okay, cool. So...
You could write it on the chalkboard, too. That'd be fun.
Is there chalk? Oh, I fucking love chalk.
And just
So
take a
then-
picture of it.
Step 1 would be...
Leaving Milwaukee. It's 5.5 hours away. Oh my gosh.
It's a fun drive.
Oh.
Leaving Milwaukee for BSU. Okay. Okay, so then his second point is like all of the excuses. So I think if I was like, what are some good excuses? Like, it's too far, the drive.
These are all the reasons, like, you didn't, why
Yeah.
not to go, yeah.
Not knowing anyone. And, like, not really having a career path. I spelled career wrong. Cool.
It's okay. Okay, yeah.
There we go. It's fine. So I think if I was like, his second step, where was this one? So, Robin suggests training yourself to hear the excuses from within, and by becoming more cognizant of those, you'll be able to dismiss them more easily. When I wanted to come to Ball State, a lot of me was like, well, it's a lot farther, it's out of state, so the tuition's a little bit more, I don't really know anyone here, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, do I want to go that far away? Those were kind of the thoughts going through my head. But once I really stepped back and thought about it, I was like, I looked at the money, I said, it's not that much more. I looked at it and said, it's still a drive away. If anything happens, like, I can still get home. And, like, I'm going to make new friends, and I don't really like anyone from high school anyways.
Funny.
Good deal. I actually really hate everyone from high school, so it's true.
Me too. Well, like 2.
But yeah, I mean, I have, like, friends, but, like, God. It's one of those things where,
I
like,
have, like,
everyone goes
2.
to the university that's, like, an hour and a half away, because it's, like, University of Wisconsin. It's a huge school. It's, like, TOSI's 2.0. Okay, so 3 was growth mindset.
And when you talk about the Tony Robbins, like, steps, like, for each one, just remember to, like, be clear and say, like, maybe, like, this is his next step, and
yeah, and
you know,
yeah, that's in my notes. And once I, like, have a better understanding of what I'm doing, I'm just gonna, like, make briefer note cards that just kind of outline things, because otherwise I'll, like, freak out and, like, be trying to read shit, and that's not good.
And I totally like understand that this is
I just like the process. Okay, so the third step towards using fear as motivation is to adopt a growth mindset. Don't get stuck in your head and about where you're at. So often we're all guilty of thinking that our goal is beyond our abilities, and we give up before even trying. By adjusting our mindset to allow for growth, it's going to push us so that we can reach our goals. So, instead of thinking that it's too far away, think, guess how much I don't have to see my parents on a daily basis. Instead of thinking that I don't know anyone, good, didn't like anyone from high school anyways, like I said. And just by allowing yourself to, like, have this, like, more positive mind, it's going to be able to, like, push you to keep reaching your goals and have a better outlook on your daily life.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, good deal. And the fourth step, I'm running out of room, so we're going to move that up here, would be pain brings valuable insight. I only failed at life. I'm doing really great here. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. I don't really know what I could talk about.
What is it? What's the point?
Pain brings valuable insight. So, like, the idea that, like...
Well, like, what struggles have you had here?
Oh! I got hit by a car my freshman year.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
Accident. And I can just kind of be like, pain brings valuable insight. So...
And you can be like, literally.
Like, literally, I got hit by a car.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I mean, it's not funny.
By, like, Brothers and Creeds Pizza, there's, like, the new pedestrian walk signs.
Yeah.
Those are for me. You're welcome. So, you were safe now walking home from Brothers.
You have to do that, and you have to do that to me.
It's so funny, though. So, if I was like, this leads to Robin's fourth point that, that pain brings valuable insight. In my case, this couldn't be more literal. My freshman year, end of the year, finals week, like the Thursday of finals. go to Brothers with some of my Greek family, and I look both ways. I did. I promised I look both ways, and all of a sudden, so I start across the street. All of a sudden, a car comes out of nowhere, hits me. I don't remember any of this, by the way.
Oh my god.
Car hits me on this side. I flip, land on this side, and I just kind of get up and I'm like, okay. And everyone's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then, but anyways, that point aside, I went to the hospital, and I was so freaked out because I was like, one, I lived in dorms that year, so I was like, I have to be out of the dorms by like Saturday morning. If I have a concussion, I can't drive. So now I'm freaking out because I'm trying to like worry about all these logistics. My mom is 5.5 hours away, and I know if I call her, I'm gonna start crying, and she's gonna start crying. It's gonna be a whole hysterics. And so I really pushed myself. I said, nope, I'm not gonna call my mom until I make sure everything's okay, which, you know, dumb or not, was my decision. But it really made me like kind of grow up really fast in that moment. I had to think about how I can organize my life now. What are the steps I need to take to make sure that A, I can get home, B, that, you know, I'm not dying from this car accident.
Can't buy any more cars.
You see that I look
they
both
put
ways
up
all the
some
time.
things
There's
on the
signs.
street. Yeah.
And that, most importantly, that I get my finals done, because I had 2 finals the next morning. Failed both of them. Anyways, so the idea that the pain brings valuable insight is going back to the idea that, yes, some of my fears were right. Like, yes, I was 5.5 hours away, and that really sucked in that moment because all I wanted was my mom in that moment. But I also learned a lot more about me and learned that I'm so much a stronger person for that.
That's great.
I like that.
That's a moneymaker.
I always forget that I got a big car. Anyways.
Can't believe that.
Sounds
like you really got hit. Like I was thinking on campus.
Like this woman was going like 30 miles an hour, she said. I like dented her car. Like I'm like 110 pounds and there's like a dent in her SUV.
And you just got up.
Yeah, and she was a bitch too. I was like, fuck you.
Oh.
She was some like assistant here at the university. Like, I don't know.
TA?
No, not assistant, like a receptionist, sorry.
Oh.
And she was like, she was a bitch. I don't know.
After she just hit you?
Yeah, and she yelled at me, and I was like, please stop yelling at me. You hit me with your car.
Did you guys call the ambulance and stuff?
Yeah, which I didn't need, because I had to get stitches in my ear because my ear was bleeding because like the bottom was a little disconnected. But I walked away with some road rash and like 3 stitches in my ear.
Oh my god,
That's
man.
That's
insane.
I really feel like I'm elastic. This is why I really think that I could survive a serial killer attacking me.
Yes.
You know? I'm not gonna hit by a car, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the last step is failure. And like good news is I haven't failed at anything yet. I think I just kind of say that. So kind of being, you know, to know that failure is inevitable. So while I haven't failed at Ball State, I'm doing well. I bounced back from that car accident real well. I'm just knowing that like things aren't always gonna go your way. Maybe I'm going for, you know, an internship and I don't get that, or, you know, I really wanted to get into this class. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get an internship. I can like make something up
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. But that like it's okay, and when that does happen, that you need to remember that just because you failed at one thing doesn't mean your life is over.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that I'm not still going to find a great internship in another place, or aren't going to make great connections doing something else with my life. Okay.
That's great.
Good.
So then what was the next?
So then I go back to the quote, the oldest and strongest emotion. This is the paragraph that I was like kind of weird about, that I talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I kind of go back to like the idea that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. What it comes down to is all fear stems from what we cannot understand. So then I just got really repetitive. If you want to like read it, I just think it got like really repetitive, and I kind of want to be like I know what I'm trying to say, I just can't get the words out clearly, if that makes sense.
Who's HP? Huh?
H.P. Lovecraft. That was like he's like the man who quoted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you probably need to cross out a lot of this because now you're not using
No, I'm
the
not
job.
using it, yeah.
But you can say yes. And you can go through your list and be like, yes, it was a big. You can say yes, it was a big risk coming here. You know, moving somewhere totally out of my element. Let me read the rest of this paragraph.
Okay. So restate my story.
Yeah, And, like, as briefly as you can. Yes, it was I had every excuse in the world not to come. But at the end of the day, like, I did.
But I had to push through my fears.
Yeah.
I would have regretted not coming to Ball State at the end of the day, and I think that's what we need
And I
to take
turned
away.
my fear into a positive.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier with this decision.
I think I should make it more concise, because I just ramble sometimes.
Yeah, but you'll get that when you rehearse it.
Once
like,
I rehearse it more, too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
okay.
like, once I was rehearsing, I mean, I went today, and I wish, whatever. You rehearse it, and you find parts that, okay, maybe no, I can say it better.
Yeah.
Just record yourself a bunch.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I just have all these weird videos of myself.
Yeah.
And most of them are me, like, yelling at, like, my roommate's cat, because she, like, stands. She likes to sit on my computer. I'm like, Case, you can't do that, buddy.
But yeah, so that's a good idea, and that's how we fix this paragraph.
Awesome. Okay, and then this last one still kind of, I think I can just kind of like fit my story back into it. So what it comes down to is that just because something is scary doesn't necessarily make it bad. Everyone should be using their fears to motivate themselves and to push them further. And I'm not saying ignore all fear. Fear is an innate part of human life, and it's there to remind us that, you know, we shouldn't just jump in to things without figuring things out. Had I just decided, oh, I'm going to Ball State, didn't figure out the money, didn't figure out the car situation, didn't figure out any of that, that's just dumb, for a lack of a better word. Just because I know more about serial killers than the average bear does not mean I'm going to go to a sketchy part of town at 2 a.m. by myself and get into a stranger's van. However, it does mean that by going through these steps and using these steps and using my fear to educate myself, 1, I'll be more prepared when I'm taken by a serial killer, and 2, I was prepared to come to Ball State. I knew what to do in case of all of these things, and I was able to pinpoint what I needed to do to get here. And then, do you still, I really like this last quote. I know, I found it, and I was like, kind of into it. Why am I using the smallest piece of chalk? What the hell?
Yeah, no, you should definitely end with this.
I think it's like a really powerful, and I think I want to like take my time with it, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of like breaking
For
after
sure.
each line, because I think it's really powerful and like really neatly sums up everything that I'm talking about.
Yeah. When you say that you want to break it up and then you want to like talk about each line?
No,
or?
just kind of like make sure that I like take the like pause after the
Yeah.
moment. Like I think I kind of want like that to be like my kind of like sticking point at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That like all of this that like that I've rambled on about serial killers and like my trip to Ball State now is condensed into like a very quick, easy.
Yeah, maybe you could even like in your presentation, like that can be a big part of it.
Yeah.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
Like, yeah.
Fear is little, and you're like, I want you all to really think about that and let it resonate with you.
Would I be able to? What if I started? I don't know. Like, tell me if this is a stupid idea. Like, it's okay if it is. What if I like started my presentation with "I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration."
Yeah.
What if I started with that and then kind of brought it back at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think that'd be kind of cool. And then.
And that way you're not just, I mean, I liked it before, but I think that this is better
I think it's
to
more like,
introduce.
and it's like more powerful wording.
Yeah.
Than, like, my words. Start with, I'm just going to take a picture of this all because it's easier to write on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Half of final quote. Because I don't remember, like, what, it's in here somewhere. No. Oh, here it is. So I would say, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. And end it with that. And then kind of go into the idea that everyone has fears, and that's okay. It's a completely natural part of life. Whether you're scared of something common like clowns or whatever, or something super vague like the fear of deep water, everyone has something that, for a lack of better words, scares the shit out of them. So let's just take a moment, think about our fears, but then remember that we need to not let those fears control us.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's excellent.
Okay. Cool. I like that beginning.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Amazing. That was a really good line by line. That helped so much.
Yeah, that was. Okay, let's see what else we can work on. I think that, honestly, we broke up that speech part by part.
Mhm.
So I think that we should go through it again.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that you should focus on is just slowing down.
Yeah.
Because I really like it and I want to hear it all together. And you don't have to go nonstop. You just, if you feel like, oh, wait, I want to say this better, it's a good time to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Let me, kind of reorganize my cards, because, I know how I'm rechanging these things now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to face the board so I can... How do numbers work? 6, 7... I lost some cards in this process. That's cool. 9...
And try and think about, that's hard to do while you're presenting, but, this is why it's good for you to do it here, because you can actually, literally take the time to pause and be like, how am I going to transition this?
For sure.
And I'll try and jump in and say, this was confusing.
Okay,
I need to figure out.
Okay, so, let's start it out. Okay. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear.
Love it.
Everyone has it. Everyone has fear, and that's okay. Fear exists inside all of us. It's a very innate part of human nature. Whether you're scared of something common, like clowns or failing a test, or something super vague, like the fear of deep water, everyone has something that scares them. Take a moment and think about your biggest fear, your most irrational, crazy, I know this is never going to happen to me fear.
Got it.
And then do I go into, so then should I say, I just don't know how to transition that to
what's our next part?
Well, I kind of wanted to, so my next part is going into my serial killer issues.
Yeah.
But do I want to bring it right back around there to facing your fears, or do I want to bring that at the end of my serial killer thing?
Well, you don't want to go into facing your fears and then talking
soon, right?
about
and then facing and then being I'm so scared of the serial killers. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna. The odds are slim to none of you facing a serial killer and that fear. I really hope that can happen, though.
I've accepted at this point. Okay. All right, so, specifically your most irrational, crazy, this is never going to happen to me ever in my lifetime fear. I'm going to tell you mine. It is serial killers. I don't know why, but I'm about 90% sure that I'm going to be taken by a serial killer at some point in my life. What really started this fear was I was about 6 or 7 years old, way younger than anyone needs to know what murder or serial killers or any sort of thing other than fairy princesses is. And I remember very vividly sitting on our back porch with a bunch of our adult family friends. They were all exchanging their Jeffrey Dahmer stories. For those of you who aren't from Milwaukee nor obsessed with serial killers, which I assume most of you are not, Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer in Milwaukee in the 80s. He killed 17 people in just about 13 years, and he was best known for eating them. So, 6-year-old inquisitive me was like, Dad, what's Jeffrey Dahmer? Who's Jeffrey Dahmer? What's cannibalism? The normal 6-year-old questions. And then, in true dad form, he said, oh, he was this serial killer. He's this really bad man, and if, you've misbehaved, he's going to come into your room and he's going to eat you. And I was like, yo, this can't happen. Okay, I'm going to be so good right now. So then, anyways, started getting a little older, started doing some research. And first and foremost, found out that my dad is full of crap and that Jeffrey Dahmer died 3 years before I was born. But beyond that, I really started to be fascinated by the minds of serial killers. And it took me a while to realize why I was so fascinated. And it comes around to the idea that I just don't understand them, and I want to understand them. So much of me wants to understand why they do what they do, because in some way, I think if I understand them, I'm going to be safer in the end. So the other day, I was listening to a podcast about murder. It's a comedy podcast called My Favorite Murder by Karen Kilgraf and Georgia Hardstark. And in it, they're kind of bantering back and forth, but they come around to the idea of where their root of serial killers and killers in general comes from, where their interest in it comes from. And they make Karen remarks that it's because every murder story you read and all that information you gather informs you so you know a little bit more next time. To which Georgia responds with, and if something does happen, you at least tried or had some control over it. And that last part really stuck with me, that you tried or had some control over it. Your fears aren't as scary if you're mentally prepared for them. And that really got me thinking about where fear in general comes from. So I did some research and came across an article by H.P. Lovecraft. He's an American horror fiction writer, and it was entitled Supernatural Horror in Literature. In it, Lovecraft asserts that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. That everything in our lives that we fear is something that we do not understand. As college students, I think this is more true than ever. We're currently living in a time where everything is up in the air. We're worried about finals, we're worried about finding internships and jobs, we're worried about, like, am I gonna eat tomorrow? Like, everything is a little bit unknown, and, like, our lives are very scary and very stressful. And so I'm here today because I think so many times we view fear only as a negative thing. It has such a negative connotation around it. But I think that we can harness that fear and really use it to advance our careers, advance our lives, and advance our daily activities. So I found Tony Robbins. He's an award-winning author, entrepreneur, and life coach. And he's outlined his five steps to channeling your fear, and as he puts it, using your fear for it uses you. So his first step is determine if your goal is a must. What this means is, or what he says, is that you should put yourself in your own shoes 50 years from now. Think about, am I going to regret not taking this job? Am I going to regret not moving there? Am I going to regret not doing this? Am I going to regret it because I was too scared? This may seem trivial, but let's put it into perspective. I'm from Milwaukee, and so when I was looking for colleges, I was like, really don't want to go to the University of Wisconsin. University of Milwaukee's too close. Okay, so let's start looking at other places. So I found Ball State. I walked on campus. I was like, Mom, I love it. Perfect. But then I had to think to myself. I was like, is this what I want? Is this goal going to advance what I want to do with my life? And it was. At the end of the day, it had a communications program that was very well known, and that was really what I thought I wanted to do with my life. So I was like, perfect. Goal was a must. So then, Robin's second point is to recognize the excuses. Every new adventure with your life is going to come with opportunity costs, but it's also going to come with excuses. People are always looking for that excuse to stay in their status quo because they're scared of the unknown or scared of failing. Robin suggests training yourself to hear the excuses from within, and then by becoming more cognizant of those, you're going to be able to dismiss them more easily. So when I came to Ball State, I was thinking, I was like, oh, it's too far of a drive. I'm out of state, so it's super expensive. I won't know anyone there. And I just kept telling myself reasons why I shouldn't go. I never took the opposite approach and said, here's all the great things. I said, but this is why, because I really wanted someone to be like, nope, you're right, and you shouldn't go, and like let that fear control me. And that kind of leads to the third step of Robbins, which is to adopt a growth mindset. Don't get stuck in your head. I think we're all too often guilty of thinking, well, it's too far out of my goals. I don't have the ability to do it. Like, I'm just going to give up, not going to try. It's easier to just say, like, I stopped before failing. But by adjusting our mindset to allow for growth, it's going to push us to believe that we can reach our goals. So instead of thinking that, I don't know anyone, think how great it's going to be that I don't have to go to college with all of the people I hated in high school. Instead of thinking, wow, it's such a far drive, think, wow, my mom is never, ever just going to, like, pop into my dorm room and just be like, hey, I'm here for a visit. So by adjusting your mindset, you can make anything a positive. And by doing that, you're going to live a more positive and happy daily life, not to mention the fact that fear isn't going to be an innate part of your everyday life. Robin's fourth step, then, is that pain brings valuable insight. And for me, this has never been more literally true. End of my freshman year, it's finals, the Thursday of finals, we're all stressed out. I have 2 finals the next day. And I was like, hey, I need a study break, I need to take time. So I go out with some of my friends, and we're going to go get dinner in the village. And crossing the street right by Brothers and Greeks Pizza, and I look both ways, because, left, right, left, just talks as a child. And still, out of nowhere, a car comes and hits me as I'm crossing the street. Apparently, I flipped, landed on my other side, and, like, bounced back up. And I was like, what happened? And the only things going through my head that I remember from that was, shit, my mom's 5 hours away. I can't call her because she's going to freak out, but also I want to call her because, it's my mom, and that's, like, what I wanted in that moment. And so this physical pain made me really look inside of myself and made me really figure out what I needed to do. So in the end, I was like, I'm not going to call my mom until I'm ready, until I know what's happening, so as not to freak her out, because she'd hop in the car at like 10 p.m. at night and be like, hey, we're driving to Muncie. But instead, I sat and I, got all my medical diagnoses, I lined everything up, and I was able to look inside myself and become a more responsible human, because I now knew that I was strong enough to handle that. The last step of Tony's is to remember that failure is inevitable. And that's okay. Luckily, I haven't failed yet at Ball State. I'm still doing really well, thriving. However, I also know that there's points in my life that I'm not going to be doing okay. Maybe it's that, I've just applied for 10 internships, want to kill myself a little bit, but maybe it's that I don't get any of those, and that's devastating. But that's okay, because I know no matter what, I now have a new goal to work for, and I now am able to take all of, that fear that, has been building up inside of me and put it to a constructive use and not let that control me. I'm not going to let the fact that I might not get these internships deter me from not getting new internships or not applying for more internships or not applying for the job that I really want. Because I know at the end of the day I'm going to regret that at the end. So really circling back around to H.P. Lovecraft's assertion that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown, we come back to the idea that once again, we fear what we do not understand. These 5 steps to harnessing fear is going to allow us to better understand and prepare for the unknown. By not giving into my fear right away, and by determining that I wanted to go to Ball State, by getting rid of all of the excuses in my life, by getting here, by having a positive attitude, by physically getting hit by a car, I maintain that I did not let my fear control me. Yes, there have been times that it sucks being this far away, but there's also been such great times I've learned more about myself, I know who I am, and I know what I want to do with my life, and I will not have regrets because I absolutely love Ball State and love what I am doing. So what it comes down to is that just because something is scary doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Everyone should be using their fears to motivate themselves and to push them further. And I'm not saying ignore all fear. Fear is very good. It allows you to not just walk straight into traffic. It allows you to not walk in traffic. It allows you it's an innate part of the human life, and we shouldn't ignore it all. It's there to remind us to think twice before putting ourselves in danger. And just because, I know more than the average bear about serial killers does not mean that I'm going to go to a sketchy part of downtown Milwaukee at 2 a.m. and get into a stranger's van. However, it does mean that if I ever am taken by a serial killer, I'm going to fight for myself because I understand what's going on, and I have prepared myself for the worst case scenario. So I'd like to go back to the quote that I stated in the beginning. That's right here. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn my inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing, and only I will remain. From here on out, you need to try your best to not let fear control you. Take these 5 steps and live your best, well-informed life, and live with no regrets by not missing out on opportunities just because you're scared of something. That was so much better.
Yeah, that really was.
Wow, I love this whole Ball State thing. That was such a good call.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, honestly, going forward, I would just, get back and I'll send you the video and you can find, the best parts.
Yeah.
The first time we went through the list, I think that was a little bit better. I think you got, super focused on details.
Yeah.
And the first time you did, you were focused on, the important details.
Yeah, so I think that,
got my diagnosis,
Yeah, once I can just
but
you
can just practice it, and, that's all. And you were really good on your fast pace. You only had, a few moments where you were fast, but for the most part, 98%,
awesome.
way better and 100% understandable.
Awesome.
Good job.
I'm pumped. Heck yes.
We're 2 minutes shy. What else can I say to you? What else? I mean, you go on Monday?
Mm-hmm. No, Friday, or whatever final exams are, I think it's
Friday.
Friday.
I thought it was Wednesday.
Wednesday, sure.
Okay. Friday. Okay, yeah, well, you have plenty of time
I know
to...
it is. I'll look it up.
Yeah, well, actually, you can't. I don't think it's on here.
Oh, well, good deal. So
yeah, Jeremiah and I were I was I'm pretty positive I go tomorrow, but he's I don't know when I go. Anyway, I mean, I really don't have any other feedback. I think it's great. I think it's a great speech. I'm really glad that we switched it to that.
Yeah, no, I am too. I think it makes it a lot more concise.
And the entire transition from the beginning of the serial talk, it was so much better.
Makes so much more sense.
The first time I heard it, I was like, where's the connection here?
Yeah.
But 100% better. Now I get it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this now.
Yeah, me too. All right, I'm just stopping it.